What's up, guys? I'm Jim Ansel, this is Real Deal Outdoors, and in this video we're going to be talking about my 5 favorite lures from 2021 that I think everybody should have in their tackle boxes going into the 2022 season. Alright, so before we get into this, I want to thank Carl's Bait and Tackle for sponsoring this video. A little bit later on, I'm going to tell you guys why Carl's Bait and Tackle is so awesome. Also, please make sure you guys head down below and like, subscribe, and comment on the video. I really appreciate all the interaction. It helps me out a lot. This is a growing YouTube channel, and all those interactions help your videos populate in search results and stuff like that. So I really appreciate that stuff. Alright, so back to my favorite baits from 2021. What I've done is I've gone through and I've kind of picked out the 5 baits that caught me not only the most fish, but the biggest fish last year. Now, some of these lures came out a little bit longer ago. Some of them came out just last year, new to the market. All of them are fantastic lures, and every single thing that you guys see in this video is available on shopcarls.com. So make sure you guys head over there and check those out. All right, guys, so the way we're gonna be doing this is we're gonna start at the back of the list, and we're gonna work our way up to the top until we get to my #1 favorite lure from last year. And what we're going to be starting out with is number 5, and that is the Googan Squad Revolver. All right, so the Googan Squad Revolver is kind of a different take on your Whopper Plopper lure. It's a prop bait. And the way that they've designed this thing is the prop is in the middle. It's in the center of the bait rather than at the tail of the bait. And I think the reason that they did that is to prevent short strikes. Instead of that, the fish coming up and taking a snap at the back of the lure, he's coming up and he's striking center mass on this thing. Now you've got these wings on the back right here at the tail of the lure, and they add a lot of stability to this thing. It just keeps it from spinning over and over again when you're retrieving it. I love the color patterns that come on this thing. There's just so much to love about this lure. It works really well. It does a good job. Now you're gonna get these big beefy hooks on this thing right out of the package. I do believe that they're must-add. They're really good hooks, man. They're super sharp and they're really sturdy. So you're not going to have a problem reeling in those big fat lunkers when you hook into one. Yeah, y'all, this thing is really great to throw up underneath of overhanging brush and stuff like that. I've had a lot of luck with it in areas just like that. It makes a lot of commotion on the water. It leaves a big bubble trail. Makes a lot of ruckus. Very loud lure. And it just does a really good job of drawing those bass up for those big topwater blow-ups. It's a really good lure, guys. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get as much footage with this lure as I would have liked to this year. I just always seemed to tie it on when I didn't have the camera on and running. And I did catch some really nice fish with this thing. A couple of the bigger fish that I caught this year, 3-4 pound fish. It's just a fantastic lure, guys. I definitely suggest that you guys keep at least one of these handy in your tackle box this coming season because it's a killer. All right, you guys, we're moving on along, and we're going to be at number 4 now. And that is going to be a new lure, I think, out this year. This is from a company called Headbanger Lures, and this is the Spitfire. Now, what's really cool about this thing, it's another topwater lure, and you guys are going to see that's kind of a common thread here. A lot of these lures are topwater lures, and I'll explain why in just a little while. But this is kind of a topwater subsurface kind of lure, and it's got one of these weird lips on the front of it that your Headbanger lures pretty much all come with. And that's what creates the crazy action of this thing. It moves just awesome in the water. It creates a really cool action. The fish seem to really love this thing. I caught some really big fish with this year. I just really did like this lure a lot. It casts really well. It retrieves really well. I do have some problems with it every now and then where it just doesn't start reacting to your retrieve immediately. Sometimes you got to kind of jerk on it a little bit to get it going. But for the most part, it works really, really well. This isn't going to be something that you're going to want to throw where there's a lot of slop or anything like that. It's more of an open water kind of a thing. You can throw it up around docks. You can throw it around, again, overhanging vegetation, stuff like that, where there's a little bit of shade. A lot of times the bass like to hide up in that shade, and I had a lot of luck throwing it out around shade and stuff this year. A lot of times the strikes are subtle on this lure. It didn't really produce any huge topwater blow-ups for me this year. but I really loved that it worked as well as it did, and I caught some really nice fish with this thing. Again, you can pick up any of these lures that I'm showing you guys over at shopcarls.com. It's definitely worth getting one of these things and keeping in your tackle box for the upcoming season. I really love this thing, and it's something that, you know, they haven't seen before. There are some segmented lures out there that are topwater lures, but this thing just has a unique action to it because of that lip, and I think that really sets it off. So again, this is one of those ones that I definitely suggest you guys grab and have at least one of these in your tackle box this coming season. All right, so I mentioned when we were talking about that Spitfire that a lot of these lures are going to be topwater lures. The reason that is because I did a lot of bank fishing this past year. My boat right now it isn't seaworthy. We're working on getting everything ready for the upcoming season, and I was hoping to have it done this past season, but that's a whole nother video. That's a whole nother story that we're not going to get into right now. But long story short, I had to do a lot of bank fishing, and when you're bank fishing, you have some limitations, right? When you're in a boat, you've got the luxury of being able to go and find open water, whatever kind of place that you want to fish in. You can move around until you find a spot where you can use crankbaits, where you can use jerk baits, or you can use any, you know, whatever, just fill in the blank. But when you're bank fishing, you got to fish what's in front of you. And most of the water that I have to fish around here is thick with vegetation. There's just no way that you're going to be able to throw a crankbait or even a lipless crankbait most of the time. The vegetation is just really thick. On the rare occasion where I'm in an area where I've got some open water and the water is high enough, I can use, you know, something like a Revolver or like the Spitfire. Most of the time I've got thick grass mats on the top of the surface, so those aren't even going to work. I was lucky enough this year that I was able to use those pretty frequently. You know, the water was higher than usual a lot of the time, so I was able to get away with using those, and it was a lot of fun to do that. But oftentimes you just can't get away with that. You're going to have to use something that you can get in and out of the vegetation easily, or at least more easily, something that's weedless. And that's going to bring us to number 3 on the list for my favorite lures last year. And this is a really cool frog lure. And you guys might look at this and at first glance you're going to think, oh, it's just, you know, some run-of-the-mill frog. No, this is something special. To me, this is something special. And this is the Buzz Frog from Blitz Lures. The reason that I love this thing so much, first of all, is it's the softest soft body frog I think that I've ever used. This plastic is just super soft, and the reason that's such a good thing is because when the bass come up and they bite this, it exposes those hooks really easily. And one of the biggest problems that a lot of people run into when they're using topwater frogs is the hook set. They have a hard time with the hook set. Oftentimes you got to give them a few seconds to get that bait in their mouth before you try and set the hook. Not so much with this guy. I was able to set the hook on this just like you would pretty much any other lure. So this plastic is just so soft. It exposes those hooks really easily. And those hooks even are a little bit thinner than a lot of the hooks that you're going to see on most of your topwater frogs. So they penetrate a whole lot easier. They go in like butter. So my hookup ratio with this frog is like probably 100% better than what I get with most topwater frogs. And the other thing that I really love about this lure is rather than a skirt being on the back of this, it's got these soft plastic legs. These things are fantastic. I love these. This lure acts a lot more like one of your soft plastic toad lures in the water than it does a hollow body frog. And these legs are super noisy. They also leave a very well-defined bubble trail when you're retrieving this through the water. And what I like to do with this is, and a lot of you guys are going to love this next part, you don't have to walk the dog with this thing. You don't have to just lightly hop it. You don't have to do anything like that with it. There's no popping action or anything like that. You can straight retrieve this guy. You just cast it out and bring it back. Cast it out and bring it back. It's a fantastic lure, guys. It works so well and it's so easy to use. Now you can pop this if you want to. The way that you would do that is you would just set up a cadence and pop and let it sit. Pop and let it sit. And what that's going to do is these legs are just going to buzz and leave a bubble trail. And that works really well too. I've done a few different kinds of retrieves with this thing. But where this really shines is on top of very thick vegetation. You can throw this up on those thick grass mats, and then you can bring it back, and when you get to an open hole, you can buzz it across that open hole, or you can buzz it halfway across that open hole and let it sit for a minute, because oftentimes what's going to happen is you're going to have bass on the bottom that are looking at this thing as it's coming across the mat, and sometimes just a simple pause when you get to an opening is all it takes for you to get a strike. They're just waiting for the perfect opportunity. So make sure you guys are doing that sometimes. You know, oftentimes if you get up to an open hole in the mat and you just buzz it across, you're taking away their opportunity. So bring it across there, let it sit for a second and see what happens. But yeah, this is a really solid lure. A lot of people, like I said, when you first look at this, you think it's just another run-of-the-mill frog, but there's something really special about this, and a lot of it is just the way that it's designed, with your really soft plastic, your thinner wire hooks, your soft plastic legs. It's a killer lure, guys, and it caught some really big fish for me this year. Caught a lot of fish for me this year, but really great lure, guys. This is one of those ones that 100% I think you should have in your tackle box this coming season. Just an awesome lure from a great company that I had never heard of before I got into mystery tackle box. So that's just one of the many benefits of getting that mystery tackle box every month. It introduces you to brands, and this is one of my new favorites. So, all right, moving on along. All right, so the next two lures that we've got here are soft plastic lures. One of them is a moving bait, and one of them is one of your more traditional, you know, finesse soft plastics. All right, and in the number 2 slot, what we've got is the new 10,000 fish headhunter. And this lure right here has been, it's a really close second, okay? It was between this and my number 1, and my number 1 is my number 1 because of the sheer numbers that I catch with it. But this right here has produced for me some huge bass this year. It's produced a lot of bass this year. It's just one of the coolest looking soft plastic swim baits on the market right now, and I love the way this thing works. And let me show you what I'm talking about here. Let me get this guy out of the package real quick. Okay, so first of all, you have a very soft, supple plastic that this thing is made out of. It just feels so good. When the bass bites on this, I think it screams realism. It feels that good. It feels really great. You've got some really killer color patterns. This is one of my favorite because it's got the chartreuse tip on the tail here, and I think that makes all the difference, especially when you're fishing dirty water. But this guy, it just looks really good. It works really well. Comes through vegetation extremely well because of this up here. You've got your hook that's buried in the dorsal fin of this guy, and it's a magnetic hook. It sticks down in there until you hook up with a fish, and then it swings free. It swings out so that you can fight the fish. But while you're fishing with it, it stays down inside the dorsal fin and remains weedless. So guys, it just works super good. I don't know what else to say other than that. It catches fish. It works really well. It swims really well. All the color patterns are really good color patterns. I just love this lure so much. All right, there's one flaw that this lure has, and what that is every now and then your hook gets caught on the edge of the dorsal fin. Okay, what'll happen is it'll get slightly exposed. It'll sit on the top of the dorsal fin just like this, and what that'll do is it'll make it swim funny. It'll make it like kind of like a crankbait that needs to be tuned. It'll come back on the side, or it'll, you know, flop around or whatever. It doesn't happen all that often, honestly. It's not something that's a deal breaker at all, because guys, this thing it plain catches fish. It catches fish better than pretty much anything that I used this past year. Love these lures. I especially love the smaller size. This is, I think it's 3 1/4 inch. Yeah, it's 3 1/4 inch and a half ounce. That's what you've got here. They also make a bigger size, and I haven't used that one as much, just because I know that when you downsize your lure, you're going to catch more numbers. And so, but even though it's a downsized lure and, you know, I'm going for numbers, I'm also catching really, really nice fish with this. I caught just in December even, you know, last month I went out on an open roads day on the refuge and I caught a 4-pounder with this thing. So it works really good. You know, now I will say that you need to really set the hook with this thing. I'm used to a lighter hook set. I used to really set the hook when I set the hook, and there's not but so many times you can hear, "Damn, Roland Martin, you're gonna rip the fish's face off before you adjust your approach." So, you know, I started setting the hook a little different. With this, you really need to set the hook. You need to put a little ass behind it. But other than that, this thing is just fantastic. It's a killer lure. Love all the stuff that's been coming out lately from 10,000 Fish. They're one of my new favorite brands for sure. And this is right up there with some of my favorite lures of all time now. Love this guy. All right. And now we're moving on to the #1 lure. And this has been my #1 lure for a while. It should be no surprise. It's a Ned rig lure. It's a finesse bait. And it's another lure from 10,000 Fish. And that is the Sakoshi Bug. Now guys, the Sakoshi Bug to me is one of the best lures on the market. It's made out of the TPE plastic, so it's super durable. It's very buoyant. It floats really well in the water, which gives it a really lifelike appearance to the bass. It's just a killer lure, man. It's small enough that you're going to catch numbers with this. You're also going to get a lot of variety with this. You're going to catch bluegill with this, warmouth with this. I've caught catfish on this thing. I've caught gar on this thing. I've caught bowfin with this. Anything in the water is going to bite this. It just looks like the natural forage of the area. You know, you match the hatch with the color, it just looks like the natural forage, and everything eats the thing. The one thing that I love about this, and I mentioned it, you know, when we first started talking about this, that Stretch X plastic, that TPE style plastic. Let me show you guys this thing out of the package real quick. These things are super durable. Now I'm going to tell you a true story, and some of you guys are not going to believe this story, but it is the truth. I went one weekend for an open roads out on the refuge, and during that weekend, I caught close to 200 bass over a 3-day period. During that 3-day period, I only used, I think, 2 of these. 2 of these the entire weekend. I kept this on a Ned head. I used 2 of them. The only reason that I had to change it out is because I caught a bowfin, and the bowfin has teeth. You know, they're a toothy fish, and he had tore it up in a couple of spots. But if you're catching bass with this thing, you're going to be able to get away with using 1 of these for a very long time. I love this lure so much, and it's super stretchy. I'm pulling on this thing so hard right now. It's hard for you guys to tell from the video, but it just doesn't break. They're really good lures, man. And you know, I tell people this all the time. If you're looking to catch sheer numbers, this is the way to go. There's been times where I'm out on the water and nothing is working. Nothing's working. I won't leave until I try Sakoshi Bug. All right, because if they're not biting anything else, 9 times out of 10, they're going to bite this. So it's just a killer lure, guys. So yeah, for me, over the last couple of years, this lure has kind of reached like legendary status. It just catches fish when nothing else will. It catches every fish under the sun. I've used it in saltwater and caught saltwater fish. You can catch speckled trout with this thing. You can probably catch redfish with this thing. I haven't done it yet, but I'm sure they would bite it. It's a killer lure, guys. The one thing that I will mention, if you're going to get these, keep them in the package. Don't take these out and put them in your soft plastic boxes. If you put your soft plastics in tackle boxes, don't do that with these. Especially don't mix them with other soft plastics because they will melt. It'll destroy your Sakoshi bugs. It'll make a big nasty mess. And I mean that's true of any TPE lure. Anything that's made out of this, you know, crazy material, it'll destroy them. So don't do that. If you've got a TPE safe box and you really absolutely want to keep them in a box, I think that's fine. But keep these away from all of your other soft plastics. And the best case, the best thing for you guys to do is just to keep them in the package that they come in. But yeah, that is the Sakoshi Bug, one of my all-time favorites now, and one of the top producing lures that I've used over the past couple of years, hands down, 100%. Now, I want to go ahead and I want to show you guys this as well. While I'm doing this, that you can count this as part of the Sakoshi Bug lure. It's part of the package. I would pick you up some weedless Ned heads. These things have been killer for me the last couple of years. I was introduced not too long ago to the Z-Man version of the weedless head, and I really love that. I like that it's got the little lip right here, this little bait keeper deal on there. I like that a lot, but I also love the owner blockhead. That's another killer option if you're looking for a weedless Ned rig. Both of these are great. Again, both of these you can pick up on shopcarls.com. They work really well, and it helps your Ned rigs to come through the vegetation really well as well. So I've gotten a ton of bites with these things. Caught tons and tons of fish. I can't even tell you how many fish. Just a killer lure. All right, guys. Well, that's my 5 favorite baits from last year. I definitely recommend that you guys keep some of these in your tackle box at all times. They work really well for me. They're going to work really well for you bank fishermen out there. Of course, this is all based on my own personal experience. Everybody's experience is going to be a little bit different. If you fish in a different fishery than I do, your bass might have a little bit different behavior than the bass that I'm fishing for. Generally speaking, bass act the same pretty much no matter where you go, generally speaking. But there are some variables that can change the way that they feed. So, naturally, if you're fishing somewhere up north or you're fishing somewhere out west, it's going to be different from my experience where I'm fishing in the hot south during the summertime. So, that's something to keep in mind. But I think that these lures are going to work equally well for you guys as they have for me, pretty well across the board. There's just some really great stuff in this group of lures. Like I said, I'm sorry that the first 3 were all top water lures, but like I said, just my fishery, the places where I fish, this is what I'm allowed to fish with. This is what I'm able to fish with. It makes it tough sometimes, especially when the vegetation is super thick. Now, we have years where it's not as thick, and I am able to get away with throwing different things, but this past year, it was just locked up with grass mats pretty much everywhere. So that can be challenging. But this coming year, we're going to have a boat, and I can't wait to be able to have the freedom of having that boat and having the luxury of being able to go and find different waters. I've got a couple of lures that I've been itching to use, and I haven't really been able to yet, at least not to the extent that I would like. One of those being this Jabberjaw here from 13 Fishing. This thing just looks incredible. I can't wait to really get in there and put this thing through its paces. I've used it a couple of times. I've caught a couple of fish with it when I'm able, but I'm not able to very often. And it's just a really unique lure. The combination of a crankbait with kind of like a chatterbait. I'm really looking forward to getting this guy out and using it. But yeah, guys, like I said, you can pick every single one of the lures that I highlighted here up at shopcarls.com. Carl's Bait and Tackle, guys, if you don't know about Carl's Bait and Tackle, let me tell you about Carl's Bait and Tackle. They have some of the best deals on fishing gear, period, anywhere you're going to find fishing gear. If you're a member of Carl's Club, you get pretty much 30% off of just about everything in the store. You're going to get free shipping. They do all kinds of different deals for Carl's Club members throughout the year. It's about $50 for the year, and it pays for itself after the first couple of orders. The fact that you get free shipping, I can't tell you how many times I've just needed some worms or I just needed some hooks. I don't want to pay $75 to get free shipping, which is, $50 or $75 most places. That's what it is to get the free shipping. So a lot of times, if you want just a pack of hooks or if you want just a pack of worms, You don't want to spend a bunch of extra money to get the free shipping. You're going to pay almost as much for the shipping as you're paying for the products that you're buying, and that's just crazy to me. With shopcorals.com, you don't do that. Whether you buy $100 worth of lures or 50 cents worth of lures, they're going to come to you free of charge. I don't know how they're able to do that, but it's awesome. It's awesome to be able to do that. The other thing is there's all kinds of different deals throughout the year. Whenever Catchco release a new bait, oftentimes you're going to get it 2 or 3 weeks or even more before the general public gets it. So you get the first crack at those lures. You get to be you're able to get them out there and use them before anybody else gets a chance to use them, which is awesome. I really love that. But anyway, it's shopcorals.com. You guys go check that out. Make sure that you try the 30-day free trial of Carl's Club. You'll be able to get all the same benefits during the free trial as you get when you pay for it. So you get a month of 30% off and free shipping and all that good stuff. Most of you guys, if you do the free trial, you're not going to want to stop. It's just so awesome. It really is. It's great. But anyway, that's going to do it for this video, guys. I really appreciate y'all watching. Like I said earlier, please head down, like, subscribe, comment on the video. That stuff helps me out a ton with YouTube. And I'll see you in the next one.